Namato Ratanatayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Zim, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello everyone. Today is 19th of Tuesday, is the 19th of May 2020. This is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. Hi everyone, and once again thank you very much for coming and listening to me. And this is kind of a broadcast from Varapunya Meditation Center in Aberdeen. And special thanks goes to everyone who are following almost every night, and also giving some reflections and questions for each night. Hi Colin, hi Suresh, Bhakta Gurung, hi Manish, Margaret, hi. So hi everyone, hi John, hi Prani. Yeah, so this is 19th. So 3/4 of this May already gone, only a few days left, and we are still in this lockdown. And this is my very first day that today I went to B&Q, and the queue was very long. And yet we went in, and there were people as well. They were everywhere painted or written 2 meters apart, and within a few moments or maybe 10-15 minutes later, staffs will repeat the same announcement saying that thank you for supporting in this circumstance, and also requesting everyone to maintain the social distance of 2 meters. So, but there are certain things that we have to accept now. It's becoming a new norms that we stay apart 2 meters, and even going to the supermarket we have to get online in line with 2 meters distances, and there will be constantly checking before you go into the supermarket. That's quite an interesting experience that I experienced today. So, and we do not know that how long it is going to take, and in this way, and possibly that we have to follow these social distances and continue practicing in this way, simply to keep ourselves safe and as well as others to be safe. But again, from there, what we see is that in the environmental perspective view, the green so-called ozone that protects the earth been significantly developed, and especially the river Ganga, one of the sacred river in India, which was so dirty, and government spent millions of rupees to clean it up every year, and never it happened. But within this 40-50 days of a lockdown, somehow the river Ganga purified itself. And there is a research saying that the media reports that the Ganga river been so much purified by itself and become holy as it used to be. So there is a possibility of a ability to drink the water, even just outside of a Haridwar, so which is just off the where the water, the river Ganga just about to spread around. So, and in a similar way, there are so many new things happening, and a new world system is created. And environmentally, it is so much different and towards the better. And in the meantime, in terms of our social living and social distancing and a community, also changing dramatically in different ways and different forms. I was talking to one of the families, my close friend, and then was saying that sometimes they miss her son who is in a university and unable to travel to her during this lockdown time, and dearly missed. But in the meantime, she expressed that it was good that her son is not with them. Otherwise, in this confined small place, it will be very, very emotionally difficult to cope in this such a limited space, and the possibility of argument and the possibility of misunderstanding may arise, and which again we can see in different families, those who are living in cities and living in flats, having problem with the family members, and especially the children. So this is again another new norm that we have to deal with it and come up the terms to finally going along and dealing with that. Somehow, it is going to end anyway. This is not forever things that will be there. Only thing is that who can protect themselves, and who can stay apart from this virus. And again, some people do get the virus, but they are freed after all, after they got the sufficient rest and a good care. And others just unfortunate that they cannot cope with this virus and they lost their lives. And this is again very obvious whether the virus is there or not. The virus is just another fear that we fear if death. But that is inevitable, that we cannot deny, and it's there. It will be, whether we like it or not. Sooner or later it is there that we have to face it. And it's a matter of how do we accept. I remember the story from the time of the Buddha, the Visakha Upasika. She was one of the greatest ladies who supported Buddha and his community during that time, and she was very devoted. And the story says that she was first noble emperor, Sotapanna, at the age of 7, and become a follower of the Buddha. And she was the one who again donated her ornaments, which she forgot at the temple. And when the monks moved from one place to another for the safety reasons, and she didn't took it back, having thought that she forgot at the temple, and it should be since the monks has touched it, it should be belongs to the monk. And with that thought, she sold that ornaments and built the temple and offer it to the Buddha and the venerable monks. And not only that, and she always visits the temple and supports, and she was really devoted on the Buddha's teachings and practices. And there was one time that she lost her granddaughter, and when she lost her granddaughter, she felt very sad, and she went to have a shower in a river, the bath in a river. And before the hairs dried, she went to visit the Buddha, mourning towards her granddaughter. And when she visited the Buddha an unusual time, so then the Buddha asked her, "What happened? Why you are crying and feeling so sad? What's wrong?" So then she told that she lost her daughter. A granddaughter, and as a result she feel very sad. And the Buddha said that, "What do you think in the world, in this city? How many people do you think are dying every day?" And then she said, "There are every day around 10 to 20 people dying." And then she said, "Why?" And the Buddha asked her, "Then why don't you mourn when you see other people died? And why you're only crying when your granddaughter died?" And then she said that, "Because my granddaughter, and they are just members in the community." And this is how it happens, that when we have the relationship, when we have the grasp, when we have attachment to one particular person or even the things, then that creates a more sufferings, more difficult to let go. And that's why I think one of the nights I mentioned that it is not what is broken, it is not what is lost, but the value that we have added onto that object makes us difficult and in suffering. That's why there is one of the discourses said, the Buddha said that if we are attached to 100 things, we suffer 100 times. If we attach to 50 things, then we suffer for 50 times. And so gradually he decreases up to the one, and say that if you attach to one, then you have one dissatisfaction or the problem or the sadness. But if you have no attachment to anything, then there is no sadness and there is no disappointment and there is no suffering. So, and that is what Buddha's advice. And after she heard Buddha's advice and realized that that was her attachment to a particular person that generated this sadness and suffering, and now because Buddha had shown her that there are not just her daughter, her granddaughter who passed away, but other members in the community are also dying as well. And that's why we do not feel any suffering when we hear someone or see someone who passed away, compared to the someone who we know and someone who is related to us. And that's simply because of our attachment. And with that attachment, the more we hold on to it, the greater the suffering comes. And I believe that in this situation, pandemic situation, there are so many families have lost so many members, and one way or another, sometimes they could be our friends, another time they could be our relatives, or they could be our grannies or mother or son or father. So with this, and the worst bit is that we cannot go for the funeral and we cannot say goodbye, and these are the things makes even more harder to deal with this time of losing. So I think the Visakha, the Buddha's advice to the Visakha is quite relevant and quite a thing to reflect and skillfully aware of that teachings, which teaches us to be mindful of how attached we are into one or another. And that is the root cause of all the sufferings that we are facing. So this is what I think we need to be mindful and consulting one another in this difficult situation. And I also heard there are stories of those who got the virus in the families, and it's been a really, really stressful time and a distressing time. So, in those situations, we cannot do anything. All we can do is to take a rest and get well soon, if not get help from the professionals, and other things we cannot do. Yeah. And once there is a guidance as well, that once you got the virus, you cannot even to see your family members. You have to isolate yourself, and the aches and pains that you experience, even nobody can help you to ease it. All what you can do is to deal with that mindfully and not be more disturbed from that illness. And this reminds me a story when the Nakulapita, one of the very devoted disciples, normally goes to visit the Buddha almost every night. And as he got old and fragile, unable to walk and travel to the Buddha at that time, he asked the Buddha to give him a very short teachings after hearing that teachings, he could take away and practice at home. And in that day, Buddha instructed him, saying that let the body suffer, not the mind. So keep the mind strong and keep the mind healthy, keep the mind steady and having the very clear consciousness of the mind. And one way or another, the pain is inevitable. Now suffering is our choice. Then how we want to be suffer, and the pain is always there. Like me, I have a chronic back pain, and it's been for a long time and still there. And it's been about a week. I have this the muscle pains in my back and even the lower bottom, having this back pain. It's there all the time, and it's the pain that we cannot deny. It's always there. It's up to my mind that how can we deal with that, how can I deal with it and make a peace with it. So this is what I do, and never been a problem to me. Some people may say, how did you manage to sit for an hour meditation despite of having this back pain? Well, when I meditate, I do not feel that pain at all. I just do not know there is a pain at all. At first it was a little bit, but after I concentrate on the breath and concentrate on the movements and anything that's arising during the meditation time, then the pain and those things just disappears. And that doesn't mean that a complete disappearance, simply my mind wasn't there. My mind wasn't paying attention to on that particular part. And as a result of that, I was able to meditate and sit for an hour or more sometimes without any troubles. And so that's same with our life too. Their pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. So we may get illness or pain or difficulties in our physical body, and as long as we pay attention to that pains and that difficulties in our body, then that becomes harder and more stronger. And on top of that, if we proliferate on that saying that this is a terrible, how could it be with me? There are so many things I have to do, I cannot do now. So if you look at it into the negative way to those difficulties, then it's become more harder to come up and overcome it. So the practice of a meditation is simply to understand that and ability to deal with it peacefully and developing the so-called positivity or positive mind, and that helps us to live with this pain as a friend. And again, often this pain is very helpful, so I don't have to think anything else apart from the pain. So the pain become an object of a concentration. And although my body has got this pain, physical pain, but my mind always at peace, and my mind is always with the peaceful with that, and without having any trouble and difficulties with it. So that's in line with the Buddha's instruction, saying that let the body pain, not the mind. And this is what I think would be very advisable in this time. If you have some of you may have some chronic pains, or even you got the virus and you cannot do anything apart from the aches and pains. In those cases, rather than thinking that, okay, this is there, this is like that, this is so painful, this is I cannot breathe and things, rather than exaggerating, or although it's a truth that you are facing, but mentally, rather than saying that I'm going to be dying, or it's so horrible, I cannot see my family members, I cannot see my friends, I'm going to die, and then I will not be seeing anyone, so and so. If we are commenting on that and generating more commentaries, then that will worsen the situation more and more. And due to the mind becomes so clouded because of those thoughts, negative thoughts, and making a right decisions also bared, and we cannot make a right decision as well. So therefore, in those situations, we need the mindful awareness, mindfulness, and having a clear comprehension, so-called satipanya. The Buddha said that the satipanya, once one who has got the two qualities in their lifestyle, that is mindfulness and awareness, the clear awareness, then they will be able to make a right decisions for the right thing and the right time. And this needs to be done, and this needs to be developed in our day-to-day life in different forms. And this is not just to deal with our pains or disappointment at this time. You can apply it to in your day-to-day life, because in our day-to-day life there is always one way or another disappointments. There is no perfect day, and there is no such things as a perfect moment. Always there is something changing, and always there is something making us unhappy and disappointments, and those situations again. Rather than engaging with those situations, simply accepting them and ability to grow up. Like there are so many other examples. Sometimes you want your friend or your family members to do something, and suddenly they change their mind and will not be doing it. And how do you feel? Will you feel angry, or will you feel okay and now accept, and you will change your mind and you will try to do it yourself? There are sometimes cases may come that that you were just suggesting or giving advice to do something, and suddenly that person left that job to do, and somebody asks him or her to what's their plan is. And that time again they say, it's your plan, not mine. Those situations, then what you will do. So these things always we will face, these disappointments we always face, and those situations what we will do. And if we are not mindful enough, and we haven't developed this awareness of the sensations and feelings that arises inside us, we immediately reply with our anger, with our disappointments, and with our with that disappointment. It creates friction and conflict and unhappiness. So in those situations, what we need is this assistant, mindfulness and awareness, and you will be able to deal with that. And there will be a moment that you are saying truth, you're doing good things, and yet some people may not think that you are saying truth. You may not think that you are doing good thing, and they will criticize you and distrust. And in those situations again, what will you do? So there are disappointment and suffering is all around at all the time, and that's simply because everything must change, and everything is changing day and night. And as a result of that, we feel suffering, we feel unhappy, and this unhappiness and things, we can deal with it when we are mindful. So the changing nature and the suffering, that's why disappointments are inevitable, that we will not be able to be free from those, but our is the choice, our mind. We have to develop this mindset that we can choose to be happy or to be unhappy in this situation, in those situations, including the situation that we are in. The situation that's very uncertain, unstable, and we do not know what's going to happen, but there is a fear of it. And in this situation as well, it's up to us. How do we want to live our life, and how do we want to go ahead? It's up to us, entirely up to us. And that's all based on the way we look at things and the way we think about it. And I hope that you are mindful enough to this situation and ability to make a right decision with a clear conscience and with the clarity of a consciousness, that bringing you more happiness and having a wonderful time during this time. So I offer this as a reflection for tonight, and also encouragement and a support to you all, those who are feeling down and feeling unhappy and feeling disappointments. So just know those disappointments and think that one day it is going to over anyway. If not, then simply having a right understanding and enjoying those moments. So thank you everyone. Thank you very much. I hope you get something out of it. And we'll see you again tomorrow. And thank you, Colin, and everyone for the feedbacks. And in a few minutes' time, we will have chanting and loving, and then practice of meditation. So you are most welcome to tuning in. And if you are not tuning in, then good night, and see you tomorrow for the talk at 6:30. Otherwise, we'll see you shortly. And good night. Thank you. May the Buddha bless you.